Welcome to Fearless Females, where ambition meets resilience. Meet your guide, Lori Jones, owner of Fearless Financial Advisors. Join her and remarkable women executives as they uncover the triumphs and transformative moments shaping extraordinary careers. Ready to be fearless? Let the journey begin.
Good morning, Fearless Females. Thank you so much for joining me. A shout out to all my listeners out there. I'm really excited that you find this podcast kind of inspiring the way that I do. It feels like women's stories need to be shared. They're doing such incredible, neat things. And I'm so excited that you're listening and appreciating their contribution because they're so cool. So today we are meeting with Iris Wagner, and she said something. I don't remember if it was during the podcast because I recorded it quite a while ago, or if she said it in our introduction beforehand. But she said she knows a lawyer who starts every will with something along the lines of, "My dearest children, I love you so much. I want you to know that you have been the greatest joy in my life. And I am so proud of all you have done." And it really struck me. Like in my heart, I was like, oh, imagine passing that legacy on to your children. Imagine after you pass away and you're gone from this earth, and the thing that your kids read is, "I love you so much, and you have been the greatest joy in my life." And I think that's what Iris does. She brings these stories, this legacy to life for people. The thing that I want my kids to remember about me is not going to be the work that I did, or even the blogs that I write, or the things that I do, even the vacations we took. I want them to remember when I'm gone from this earth how much I loved them and how proud I am of everything that they've put into this world. And that is what Iris spends her life doing, is telling those stories for people who want their legacy to live on past their time here, and doing it in a really personal way. And I was so excited to hear her journey and the different things that she has done, and the different ways that she's really made a difference in this world. So let's get started with Iris. So I'm really excited that we get to talk to Iris Wagner today. She is the founder, CEO, and executive producer of Memoirs Productions. That's a video, biography, and ethical will company. And I'm really excited for you to hear what she does and kind of I had a chance to spend just a few minutes with Iris and kind of getting to know her. And I've thought about it for 3 weeks since. So I'm really excited for you to have this opportunity. Thank you, Iris, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Lori, for having me. And I really enjoyed our pre-production discussion also. It was very memorable. So
you brought up a lot of things that I've been thinking about for a while, going over in my head. So I really appreciate you kind of joining us and just sharing your experience. So the very first question I always ask is, I'm a reader. I love any and all books. Tell me what's your favorites.
Favorites? Okay, I have a few, and it's all related to the work that is my life calling and my work, which is that I produce video biographies for people to leave as a legacy to next generation, focusing on their ethical wills, their values, beliefs, lessons learned. And one of the first couple of books that really impacted me, one was Tuesdays with Maury. Mitch Albom wrote about him 25 years ago, a gentleman with ALS who imparted so much wisdom from life and his values, and everyone could relate. And he talked about how to live life as he was near the end of his. Another book that I always look back to is Randy Pausch's The Last Lecture. That went viral. There's like 100 million views. He did a last lecture at Carnegie Mellon where he was a professor when he was diagnosed with cancer. And that last lecture was what he felt was most important in life to communicate. And in the end, The punchline was that he really was doing that recording for his kids, who were three kids under the age of 7, who would really never get to know him. And it was so powerful. He did the lecture. It was put into a book. He was all over Oprah, and all the TV shows grabbed him. And it was very poignant and very, very much an ethical will, which is where I live and work. So those 2 books totally influenced me at the beginning of my career.
I think that last lecture, I'm pretty sure I've read that one, and I thought it was really impactful as well. And I love hearing like biographies or stories or, like people's journeys. Obviously, that's why I do what I do. So I love listening to these ideas of where they've come from. I'm going to put those on my book list and add them to my stack of books. So thanks, Iris. I appreciate that. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you start out? How did you get where you are today? Kind of what do you do? Just talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I graduated from university with a degree in finance and business and started my career in banking, landed up going into high-tech finance at that time, and landed up in the end in real estate, all related to financial work, which wasn't exactly my thrill. I did well, but I was working 100 plus hours a week. I was making a lot of money, but I wasn't really too thrilled. What thrilled me was my volunteer work. I was involved with a large nonprofit, and I was doing and working in the communications end. It was actually a 50-year nonprofit that was rebranding, and I got so involved in the project, and all these older men on the board looked at me and said, "You're so talented at this. You should do this for like work." And I said, "I love doing this stuff." So I went back to school in my 30s and got a degree in film and communications. Mm-hmm. After which I did The Artist's Way, another book I love by Julia Cameron. It's called How to Unblock the Creative Spirit Within You. And it's a 12-week course that you do on your own. And one of the things that happens when you do it is you write morning pages every morning, stream of consciousness thinking as to what is going on in your head. And just like any other day, I was doodling and I wrote memo to Iris to make a list of things I was going to do that day or whatever. And my pen skipped on the T and the second I. And when I looked down at the page, I saw memoirs. Whoa! Oh my God. Did you hear the angels singing? Did you hear the aha moment I was having? It was unbelievable. But I realized that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to record and film people's memoirs. So I sat down and wrote a business plan, went in 2-page business plan, ran to one of the individuals I knew through my community service who had an incredible story to record. And he hired me to do his parents right on the first sales call. That was 25 years ago, and I have never looked back since. It is my calling. It is my life's journey. It is my life's legacy. It is my passion. I plan to do this work until the day before I die.
I love that. And I think that's funny that like I feel the same way a lot about finance. Like I feel like it's my life's calling. It's my journey. It's the thing I love to do most. And I think it's so funny that you started out in finance and you're like, yeah, this is not for me. But this idea of taking people's legacies and making a memoir out of them speaks so much to you. But you couldn't really go to college to be like, how did you find this place? I mean, like, it was just a happy accident, or were you in a place where you could, like, it could come to you?
Good question. It wasn't easy. And I kind of felt like, and I sometimes still feel like I'm on my own little island in a big blue ocean, right? Because people look at me sometimes still to this day, 25 years, wow, that's such a cool idea. I never heard of that before. And I'm like, come on, seriously? There are other video biographers out there, but there are very few or none that I know of that actually, focus on the ethical will, the values, the beliefs, the lessons learned, the wisdom that one accumulates through life like I do. But I guess, part of it was in that journey with that nonprofit. After 50 years, I did interview some of the early board members, past presidents, and I learned about their legacy as being president of that agency for that nonprofit for a while. And that's where they looked at me and said constantly, no one's ever asked me that question before. And I said, really? I said, I'm just asking you to reflect back, like what were some of the challenges, or what was a highlight, or what was a milestone? They go, I never thought about that before. I've never reflected like this before. And they came to me and said, again, you should do this. This is a really powerful work. So I was constantly getting nods of approval, big nods of approval from pretty much mostly gray-haired men. But then I did get some women, right? I did get some women, but I started off with men who were highly accomplished entrepreneurs, very successful in their own right. And they basically told me, you're really good at this. And it gave me the confidence to keep going. And there was at one point an organization called the Association of Personal Historians. And I actually joined it and went to their conferences in the US during those times way back. And at one of the first or second conference, I was actually announced I was called to a panel where they announced me as a blueprint for success in the video side of the business. The majority of the personal historians were writers, ghost writers, right? Ghost writers who would take someone's story and write the book for them. Very few video biographers, but I was doing it at such a level that I guess I made an impression in the industry. But it was a small group. There were only 600 of us that were members, and maybe 200 that would come to the conference every year. So you're right. I had to do this on my own. It was not like I followed anyone's footsteps. I didn't have a mentor in this field. No way.
It sounds like it. And I find it really interesting that you kind of locked in on the idea of a video biography because yeah, I'm used to biographies in print. I'm used to them, coming up with questions and even this idea of like a semi-fictionalized biography, but the idea of a video passing down of what you learned and your values. And that's kind of unique.
Thank you. I believe that every person has the story in their heart and their mind to tell about their own life. And the best way for them to tell it is from their own lips, from their mouth, from their own mind. It's their truth, and it cannot be refuted if someone says it. And I also believe that most people live authentic lives. They get up in the morning, they put their shoes and socks on and go out the door as Laurie Cohn, incredible financial advisor, etc. And that's who you are. So when I ask you an interview about your career, you're going to tell me your truth. And you're going to tell it from your heart. And it's going to come out beautifully spoken. If you were to tell me it off camera and then I had to write it back and hand it back to you, would never sound the same, right?
Yeah.
No, because everyone speaks with the smile in their eyes or the smile on their lips and the tears in their eyes. If I asked you about a dearly departed loved one, your grandmother, for example, if she had gone, you would start to smile or you would cry because of the impact she had on you. And that can only be captured on camera.
Oh, yeah. That's really powerful and something I hadn't really considered before. But yeah, that sense of authenticity of who they really are, that comes through in video, voice to some extent, but video maybe more so. I love that. Iris, that's really cool. What is the best investment that you've made in yourself? If you can look back on this whole journey and you be like, oh my gosh, if I had not done that, I don't think I'd be where I'm at today. What would that be?
Well, I think I mentioned when I started the artist's way, and that aha moment of learning memoirs was my calling and my passion. And once I started on the road, it was like, look out, this was where I was headed and everything. I think I was also impacted. I was selected for a leadership training program, very selective leadership training program. And one of the first things we did on the first retreat was we were asked by the leadership to write our ethical wills. At the time, I was single, no children, and I said, I don't have kids. What do I do? Well, write it to people you love. Write a letter that expresses who you are, what you stand for, what you believe in. What are your values? What are your wisdoms? What have you learned? What's important to you about your life? Don't just write about the story. Write about the impact that things have had on you. And I was just blown away by that experience that I said, I need to incorporate this immediately into my memoirs. I started memoirs just by capturing the video biographies. But once I learned that ethical will process, it was a game changer. And everyone I've applied it to has told me it's something they totally, totally cherish doing, because most people never take that deep dive of reflection into those things. And I'm fortunate enough that over the past 25 years, I've been developing this process, and now I've developed it into a course because I want the world for my next 25 years to get to do this themselves. They don't need me and a big camera crew and a whole setup, and they just need their iPhones or their Androids, any phone that has a camera, to do this themselves, as long as they have the process and the questions to ask themselves.
And I think too that, like, the idea of sitting down and asking yourself, what do you really believe, and where does that belief come from? Where does it center in you? That's something that we rarely do.
Absolutely. No one takes the time. I had a client once who said to me, and he was highly successful, came from rags, became riches, right? And looked at me at 80 years old and said to me, you know what, Iris? I never look back, because all you do when you look back is get a kink in your neck. And he believed that, but I got him to reflect. And in fact, he took his next 20 years of his life with his company and his family and changed the trajectory because of the reflections. He realized all of a sudden what was important in his life to include going forward. So, even the most stubborn futurists, or people who look ahead only and see a future, even they realize that there's a power in reflecting and taking that time to look back and see what you learned.
Yeah, I find that really powerful and a really interesting statement. Through my podcast, I'm always asking women, well, what did you do well? What would you have done differently? And I have a lot of them say, I never thought of it before. It was just, I was so busy doing the things and becoming who I was that I just never really thought about looking back. It's eye-opening experience for them. And I can imagine that sort of memoir and that life and really reflecting on what your values are and what you want to pass on to the next generation can be very powerful and inspiring.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about working with women? I use a process called the spiritual ethical will, because women tend to have much more than just straight up values and beliefs to pass to their loved ones. They offer often messages of love. They'll offer family heirloom recipes, that those shortbread cookies that are made every Thanksgiving, or the plum cake that's made at Christmas, or whatever, that's been in the family for decades and generations. They'll pass that through. They will definitely focus on messages of love and wishes for their grandchildren and their children's futures. It's a beautiful postcard from an edge that is a woman's touch.
Yeah.
And I just love working with women. They do that deep dive that is so cherished and so loved, not just by me, but by their kids and grandkids who receive the videos. They just, I can't say enough about it.
What a beautiful legacy to leave too. I mean, like what an important thing to be a part of that, to be a part of sharing that story and passing that down so that generations, won't lose that. I remember having conversations with my grandma and things that I learned from her, how different it would have been if she had been able to video that, so that not only me, but my kids and my kids' kids could feel that spirit and that love that she had. What an amazing What an amazingly impactful way of doing things, Iris.
Thank you. But you have that same influence in finance, right? Because you're preserving their wealth for multiple generations. All I'm saying is make sure your clients who are passing on the wealth well beyond their lifetime, that the stories go with it. And it's not just about how they accumulated the wealth stories. It's just about the journey of how they made decisions about it. And not just about the wealth, made any decisions in their life that may have had an impact one way or another. And yeah, and if they talk in their own words, how important it is. I had a woman once who said, whatever you do not sell the cottage. I will not allow anyone to sell the cottage because my grandmother left me that cottage and we fixed it up. And I know it's on a beautiful lake in a beautiful place and we could probably get a lot of money for it, but I don't want you ever to sell it because so many great memories at that cottage of summers, of 4th of July, etc., happened there. And that's something that is a legacy in our family, and please hold on to it. Now, she said it without wagging a finger, because the first thing I tell my clients is if they wag a finger on camera, I will cut it off and the Persian rug will get blood all over it because you can't be prescriptive. But she did say it was so important to me when grandma left me that cottage that I promised myself to leave it to my grandchildren too and hope that they will continue. So that's the way. It's never to be prescriptive, never to tell. It's just to suggest and to say why it meant so much to them in their lifetime. And then any children that love them, of course, are not going to make another decision, right? So easy. It's easy then.
I love that. Iris, did you get any bad advice, or what is the worst advice someone gave you? And did you listen to it? Did you take it? Did you ignore it? Did you learn from it? Tell me about that.
Honestly, I've never had bad advice. I saw the question. We talked about it last time and I said, I don't have an answer for you. I cannot think of ever having bad advice in terms of my trajectory. I've been very blessed throughout my life with everything that's happened. So I never sort of had a pitfall. I know probably most people do, and I'm embarrassed to say it in a way that I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful for my whole journey. And I can't think of anyone that ever gave me bad advice.
So I was curious about this because if I came to my parents and said, I'm starting video biography and ethical will company, I'm sure I'm 100% sure, because my parents are salt of the earth kind of, work from morning till night sort of thing. They would not be on board with that. I probably would have gotten some advice that said, hey, you want to think about this a couple of times, maybe not do it. But that didn't come up. People were so.
I have news for you. I think when a woman finds two parts to that answer. My parents, when I went to them first, my mother looked at me and said, "What took you so long?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Iris, from the age of 6, every year on my birthday, on Dad's birthday, on family members' birthdays, every year you sit down and write a poem in their card about their previous year of life." She says, "Since the age of 6, I have all your cards. You have captured my life in poetry on my birthday card, on my Mother's Day card, on Dad's and my anniversary cards. It's all there. You're always reflecting back for all of us. You've been doing this all your life. Don't you realize this is your calling?" So that really empowered me. What a great mom that was. And my dad, of course, smiled and said, "Sure, it sounds great. Try it. We'll see if you make money at it," right? Because he was all about the finance side. That's how I fell into finance, from him. And, but then when I went to the first client, as I mentioned, I went to the first client who gave me my job right on the spot to do his parents' biography. I went to him for him, and he said, no, I'm still busy running my business. Yes, I know I sold it for many, many millions of dollars, but I'm still 51 and I'm not ready. But my parents are in their 70s. Go see if you can relate to them and do them. And I was hired by the next day. That empowered me to realize that when you find your calling and your purpose, there's no regrets. And there's no bad advice because I listened to my gut to do this. I listened to it and I heard the calling through the Artist's Way morning pages that said memoirs on it. Everything just felt so natural and so authentic for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when my mother said, what took you so long? You've been doing this all your life already. I'm like, okay, tick, let's do it. And I've never looked back. So I really don't have any regrets.
I love it. I love it. So if there's a situation, Iris, that you can look back on through your journey and you're like, oh, I've learned some things along the path. And maybe if I could go back and do that situation again, I would do it differently. Is there something like that?
I think I wouldn't have waited as long in a financial career. No offense. I'm laughing. But maybe you're going to come to my side because you're such a good podcast host. Honestly, this is communications work you're doing now, dear. But if I hadn't spent as many years in my 20s doing financial work that I had the capability for, I did well, I earned nice money, I just wasn't fulfilled. And if I had to ask myself what I would have gone into this a lot earlier. I might not have taken that financial degree. I might have gone right into film and communications and dabbled in working maybe in some kind of production, something, but then eventually I would have found my way to starting Memoirs Productions. Mm-hmm. So that's the advice I would give someone is, listen to your gut when you're not happy in a career or in any type of life situation. If there's something amiss and you're not getting up really happy every day doing what you're doing, get out as fast as possible, no matter what. Because if you find your calling, it's all up here from there. It's all uphill from there. There's no issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And I say that a lot of times too, where you do your profession, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, you spend time away from your family and loved ones. It's got to be something that you love doing. It has to be something that you enjoy and that fills your bucket, makes you happy. If you're doing something you're miserable at, you're not going to be able to sustain that for that many years. So I like that. Why do you think you went into finance rather than starting this early? Is it just you didn't know about it?
No, great question. And no one's really asked me this before. So there you go. You're learning my tricks. My father was in fabulous jewelry business. He imported fine gold jewelry from European manufacturers in Italy and Switzerland, etc., and brought it in. And then was in those days a wholesaler to retail stores, fine retail stores. I always had a dream of going into my dad's business. And unfortunately, when I was just in second year of university, studying business and finance and international marketing, doing all the courses to give me a grounding. My father was self-made entrepreneur. He never went to university. He was, in those years, he just barely got a high school degree. So I was the one to go to university, get all the core, and halfway through my second year, when my father used to buy gold by the ounce, he had paid in those years $200 an ounce. Gold hit $900 an ounce. And he realized that a fine little gold necklace like this, that maybe some admin assistant was buying for a couple of $100, she was no longer going to spend $1,000 based on weight. So he took all his gold and he melted it down at the mint and turned his company into a holding company. And all of a sudden, poof, my career, my vision of being future CEO of Nadine Jewelry Company was the name, and it was squashed. So I had all this financial knowledge, and one of my dad's good friends was very, very high up in a major bank, and he knew me. And so as soon as I graduated, he got me into a financial management training program at that bank that was very prestigious and very whatever. It's a whole time ago, but I sort of had to pivot there. And didn't exactly do. So I was a bit shattered but I like I said, I did well. I landed on my feet, as I always do. And that's the first time I've told this story on a podcast to anyone. So there you go. You're getting a little bit, I'm rubbing off on you there.
Well, that's really interesting. I think that a lot of times our lives don't quite end up where we think they're going to, where we had planned for them to be. And whether it's, like a dream that we had that died, but was replaced by maybe something that fit us better. I found that if we keep our options open and we keep our viewpoint on what can I learn from this experience and how can I grow, and you're open to the universe sending you different ideas and different paths to take, that you tend to fall into the right thing for you somehow.
Yeah. You have to be willing to trust your gut. Even women have guts. Men always talk about their guts and they trust, but women have intuition too about their own lives, about their own happiness. And too often they may be led by other influences, kids at home, husbands, parents, anything, any individual can women tend to be nurturers, and that's where they live most first, right? So it's hard for them to put me first, myself, themselves first. But you know what they say on the airlines? The first thing you do in a situation is you must put not the gas mask, the
Oxygen.
what's it called?
The
Oxygen.
oxygen.
Thank you. You must put the oxygen on yourself first before others. And part of what feeds you the right oxygen is a calling, is finding a passionate thing you are good at, you enjoy doing, you get well compensated for, and you feel is really adds to your self-worth and self-esteem. That's what women need.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I will go on the road show. We will take that message to the world. So, Iris, what if you could go back and talk to yourself at the beginning of your journey? You choose, 18, 19, 20, 21, but just when you're kind of starting out, is there a message you'd have for that young lady?
Be open to experiencing everything that you can and find your calling. I can't stress it enough. Find what makes you passionate. Experience travel, experience the world over. Try different careers or positions in life or courses or anything, just to give yourself enough experience as a young person that will enable you to find what really touches your heart. And once you're in your heart, then your mind will be open to finding how to just keep your heart open with the work that you do, with the life work. And try and do that earlier than I did. I had to go through a bit of a roundabout to get there, but I did. And I'm so blessed. And that's why I say I have no regrets. I'm so blessed and grateful that I found it, because many people never find it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
they keep looking.
Yeah.
I love that idea of like trying a whole bunch of different things. Like sometimes you might have to, volunteer in different places or take different classes or try different careers. Like if it's not quite fitting, you need to try a lot of different things to find what is your passion, right?
Absolutely. And another thing, given that I'm a video biographer, interview people. Go and talk to your elders. First, start with the people that love you the most, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, older people than you, not your parents, because they have a vested interest and they know you too well. But go to that next level of family members or close friends of families, people that you trust, and ask them about what they do. The ones that you really love, chances are you share a core value or a core belief system, and where they are could inform you. Let's say you go and find out your grandfather was a doctor and you never thought of medicine as an option, right? You probably were not, following a different path, maybe an artistic path, but go talk to your grandpa, the doctor, and see how he lives his life, what's important to him. See if it resonates with you.
Mm-hmm.
And people are so always interested in talking about themselves, right? Here, you have me in very uncomfortable because I'm typically behind the camera or behind the microphone, behind the camera. I'm never on it. So I'm I'm shaking over here. I'm not comfortable talking about me, but thank you. You made me feel so comfortable because you're very good at this. But I'm saying if younger people would go and talk to their elders and ask them about life, about lessons they learned, about beliefs they have, it will become very soon very clear what makes them interested.
Mm-hmm.
What makes for themselves where they would like to focus their life. And then all they should do is follow their passion. As I keep saying, follow the passion.
I love that, because I do think that, they know you well, they've known you since you were born, and they probably do have a lot of insight into what makes you you and what might, resonate with you. I love that.
Except I disagree with the fact of asking them what I should do. I want to know what they did. Ask
Yeah.
them, my age, at 20, Grandma, what were you looking at doing with your life? What was interesting you? Oh, you just wanted to stay home and have kids and raise them? Or no, you were a teacher at 20 because you loved educating children, and that was a belief that you felt that every child deserves a great education. Every child deserves to have a proper guide in learning about English or mathematics or literature or whatever she taught, for example. So I would focus more on them and not ask them to judge or make calls for me. Just be a sponge and ask older people about themselves and see what sits in your mind. But you walk away from that little interview and then write down notes, keep journals. It'll all become clear very quickly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really great. I love that advice. I think that's actually one I haven't heard before. So I find that so interesting. Thank you, Iris. What about when you started out along this path? Did anything scare you? And does it still scare you?
No, and nothing. I guess I'm different again. Nothing really scared me. I guess every woman always has the fear that I won't make a living and I can't, I won't be able to pay rent or pay for my car payments or whatever it is at the beginning. But that was squashed for me because my first sales call, I made a very good sale. And that took me to 2 others, to 3 others, to 7 others. And I've never looked back. So I've never really had that problem. But I guess deep down, that might have been some kind of worry that would this business fail and not allow me to live my life. And there's nothing that I feel fearful of now that I can think of. And nothing that keeps me up at night. If you want, you must do this with your clients often with financial work, right? Where you say, what keeps you up at night? Oh, well, I don't have enough in my 401k or whatever they tell you, right?
Yeah.
As I started this call with you, I am very blessed and very grateful for everything I have. And I don't have really any fears.
That's great. I love that. It must mean that you're on the right path in the right place, because sometimes you do get those sense of like, oh gosh, am I going to do well at this, or is this going to turn out all right? And if you're passionate about it, a lot of times you you get a little fearless. You're like, I'm going to try it. The worst thing that can happen is, they tell me no, or it doesn't work out and I have to go work at McDonald's, right?
I think what I've learned from all of my gray-haired, lovely, beautiful clients, and even ones that don't have gray hair, be flexible in life. If something looks like it's not working, pivot. Best advice I had from a client was take it, try something. If it's not working, go to something else. Don't stick with it and keep digging it down and down where it's really not going to get anywhere and it's only going to bring you down. Try and go from a high point to another high point to another high point. And if there's a dip, get yourself out of it right away and just say, that happens. Sometimes things happen in business, right? But always try to look forward. And one of my clients said, ski the whites. Oh, you're in Colorado. You must be a skier. Do you know how to ski the whites?
I know how to go down the bunny hill on my butt. That's basically what I know.
But you understand, skiing the whites is sometimes you end up in the trees. And the idea is when you ski the trees and you see a tree, what's going to happen? You're going to hit that tree. But if you ski the whites, if you just see that white path of snow down to the bottom of the hill, you're going to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the success is. Too many people are in business skiing the trees and hitting trees that just knock them over. And that's not it. Ski the
Yeah.
white. So I've learned some incredible lessons that have helped me buoy my career in my business. And that's why I truly believe in elders' wisdom or more experienced people. So if someone who's listening to you now is thinking of starting off some kind of a business, find a wiser, slightly older individual and start interviewing them about their journey and take from them those kinds of nuggets that'll help you along your way.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I agree. And I love that you have that experience of interviewing so many diverse, different people and kind of gleaning their wisdom. It must really enrich your life too.
100%.
What about challenges? Did you face any challenges or unique challenges because you were a woman in this profession?
Not in Memoirs Productions. When I was in banking, if you want to really go back to my 20s, yes, I was a woman in banking at a time where there weren't too many women vice presidents at the bank that I was at. And I was told that I was hitting a glass ceiling because I was moving up quite quickly. And they said to me at one point, "We don't even have a male vice president under the age of 40. Where are you going, Miss Wagner?" at that time. And I'm like, "I'm going out of here, that's for sure." And that was, I left because I was not going to be squashed when someone told me that because I'm a woman, I wouldn't be able to get up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
I hope things have changed since then. That's obviously much more than 25 years from ago, but I don't know. Your experience, Lori, do you see it with some of your people? Do they have?
Yeah, there's still a lot of glass ceilings and there's still a lot of, we can't give you this promotion because you're too young or you're too ambitious or that sort of thing. So yeah, it's still happening, but it's less. I think that you were on the forefront of that. And so a lot of those that were really on the forefront of that kind of broke the glass ceiling and made it able for us to come through and get a little higher and a little higher and a little more. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's still there. It still is.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the thing, Iris, that you are the most proud of?
I guess I'm most proud of bringing this concept of recorded ethical wills, video ethical wills, kind of to the world. I am a pioneer. That's what I was stated at way back when at the Association of Personal Historians claimed me to be the pioneer in ethical wills on video. I don't know anyone else still to this day who does it the way we do it. So I'm most proud of that. I'm turning that into a course online that people can take and do for themselves as I've honed this process over the 25 years with all the wonderful, wonderful clients that I've had the pleasure to interview. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm proud of every production I produce because there's a little piece of my heart in every one of them. When I get to know someone, like I feel, Lori, you're my friend now. We got to be friends for life here. We've gone through this together and it's such a wonderful sharing of minds. And I totally get that your podcast is bringing such important information to women that I love it. And so all I'm saying is that I'm proud of having this ability to connect with people and have them share some thoughts that they've never shared before. And that my legacy is that I recorded and they will have it for our DVDs that we used to produce them on. The archival DVDs are to last 300 years. Now we're uploading them into private online cloud spaces and telling clients to download them clearly and keep them safe, because I want these videos to be around hundreds of years from now, because there's no reason why it won't. So I'm proud of the trajectory of Memoirs, especially now at 25 years, and very excited to push for the next 25 years.
I think that's really important. Iris, the fact is that you're giving these people a voice through generations, and you're allowing their life to affect and help others through generations of time. And that's important. That's a life's work right there.
And so is yours. My hat's off to you that you can create the wealth that allows them not just to retire comfortably, but to leave a financial legacy behind. So we're both very simpatico. You and I were similar because you're leaving that financial legacy with them, and I'm leaving their spiritual or their life story legacy with them. So I hope we get to collaborate soon on some family or other. Wouldn't that be great?
Absolutely. If you have any advice for a young woman who is just starting down this path that you're already so successful about, what would you advise her?
To start a Memoirs Productions company, or no,
Yeah,
or to start any company of
I would say, Iris, like, what if there's a woman who doesn't know today that her calling is memoir production, but maybe just following her passion, and being successful.
All I would say is get to know yourself well enough as a young person through all kinds of life experiences. Learn what turns you on, learn what gives you empowered passion, learn the kind of books that you love to read. As you started this interview, you said, what books are you reading? You see, I didn't have to think twice. I knew the books had to be memoirs related type books, because otherwise I'm not going to read a true crime detective story. It's not my thing. I'm not going to read, a romance novel. It's not my thing. I'm going to read someone's memoirs. I want to know about their life. So find what you're really passionate about, what calls you, what do you have unlimited time to spend doing, and then try to see what business relates to that and look into starting it. And chances are you'll be successful at that calling. And if you don't have the right skill set to begin with, I highly recommend getting training or getting an education for it. I'm not necessarily saying that it has to be university education. Now there's all these other online places that are amazing. I'm very informed by Mind Valley, for example. I've been a Mind Valley member for many years, and they offer all kinds of interesting courses to find your passion, to plan your life, to do all these things. And that really helps in deciding. But give yourself some time in your 20s to really experience lots of things, so that you don't ever feel that you missed out on something. Like, what if I had volunteered for a bit in a hospital? And I did. I was a candy striper as a teenager. And that's when I realized I could never be in work in a hospital day in, day out. It was not for me. But I'm glad I did it, because I knew that I wanted to give back to people in some way, but not by cleaning their bedpans. That was not it for me.
Oh, I love it. That is great advice. Iris, thank you so much for spending some time here with us today. I've really appreciated it. If I have a young listener that wants to talk to you and ask you questions, get some advice, how does she get in touch with you?
Oh, well, absolutely. She can send us an email at memoirsproductions.com, send it to info@memoirsproductions.com, or I also have my new portal is iriswagner.com. So it could be Iris at iriswagner.com. Also, that's where we're building up the course and speaking, etc. So I have to thank you so much, because I think you're a fabulous interviewer. Your heart is in the right place to do this podcast. Look at your big smile. It makes me feel so comfortable to talk to you. Like I said, I'm never never in front of the camera, so to speak. I'm always behind. So this is unique for me, but you made it very simple and easy, and I can't thank you enough. I'm very grateful.
Oh, well, good. I'm so glad to hear that, Iris. I really enjoyed it. And I, like you, I love listening to people's stories. I love letting them share and hoping that helps those that are kind of at the beginning of their journey, maybe find a different path or find their true path. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.